It's 10 trivia questions on famous pool flops where people in movies fall or jump into pools. This is Trivia with Buds. What it be, and welcome to another episode of the Trivia with Buds podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Buds. Thanks for checking out my show, and thanks for falling asleep to my voice, which some people have told me they do with this show, because I kind of just drone on, and there's not that much to it, and it's a lot of just information. So if you fall asleep to this show, I hope that you just put it on shuffle, and it just keeps playing episodes of me saying the same kinds of things. Maybe the tone of my voice is what gets you off into slumberland. I hope that is the case for you. If you're falling asleep right now, maybe you've just fallen asleep and you didn't even get to hear this next part of the podcast. Today's episode, Famous Pool Flops, was inspired from a list I saw of like the top 6 pool flops in a footer in an episode of Entertainment Weekly, which is no longer a magazine. That's right. I got a thing in the mail that says, this is not a magazine. They're like, you could switch it to People. I'm like, I don't care about People. I care about Entertainment Weekly. And so that's not going to be a magazine anymore. And I don't even think it's going to be an online magazine. So because they were asking me to switch to People, I think that it's just kaput. But anyway, there was a lot of fun stuff in there, and sometimes inspiring in forms of quizzes. So this was one of the last things I got probably ever from Entertainment Weekly, and I came up with a few of theirs and a few of my own to make the full 11-question quiz. So we're going to dive into those, no pun intended, or was it? In just a second. We have our Geek Out challenges, and those are these. Name 2 films with subtitles. Name 4 TV shows with a Western theme. Name 2 book titles in which elves appear. Name 4 songs in which clapping is heard. And 6 Nintendo video game characters. Those are your challenges for today. Thanks for telling a friend about this show. If you know somebody that loves trivia that doesn't listen, send them the link to this episode. Say you got to listen to this famous Pool Flops episode. It was a real splash. And maybe they'll listen. Probably not, though, with that lead in. But, whatever you want to do to help spread the word would be awesome. We're going to jump into those 10 questions from famous pool scenes in movies right now. Here we go. All right, it's famous pool flops. Number 1, this is from 1946. George and Mary fall dancing for a crowd, but back up into a pool below a gymnasium floor. Number 1, George and Mary fall dancing for a crowd, but back up into a pool below a gymnasium floor. Number 2, 1986, Cameron leans off of a white deck chair and dives into a backyard pool headfirst. Number 2, 1986, Cameron leans off a white deck chair and dives into a backyard pool headfirst. Number 3, from 2003, Frank gets a dart in his neck and falls into a pool to the tune of The Sound of Silence. Number 4, 2014, the teens throw a sheet over the stalking demon and shoot it before electrocuting it in the school pool. Number 5, 1997, Reed Rothschild's front flip ends a long one-take pool scene in the late 70s, early 80s with adult industry performers. Number 5 from 97. Number 6 from 1996, 2 teenage star-crossed lovers fall arm in arm into a fancy pool. Number 7, 1975, Frank N. Furter starts off singing in a raft alone, but 4 more uniquely dressed folks jump in after him. Number 8 from 1984, Stripe jumps into a pool and it starts bellowing green smoke. Stripe jumps into a pool and it starts bellowing green smoke. Number 9, 1967, Benjamin demonstrates his newly gifted diving suit for his parents' friends. Number 10, 2008, Oscar is saved by his vampire friend from bullies who plunge him underwater against his will. And your bonus question for 2 points, author Kurt Vonnegut appears as himself in what diving comedy of 1986? What diving comedy was that? Those are all your questions on famous pool flops. We'll be right back with those movie titles after this. We are back with the answers to famous pool flops. Here was number 1, 1946, George and Mary fall dance for a crowd, but back up into a pool below a gymnasium floor. That is It's a Wonderful Life. It's a Wonderful Life. Number 2, 1986, Cameron leans off of a white deck chair and dives into a backyard pool head first. Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Number 3, 2003, Frank gets a dart in the neck and falls into a pool to the tune of The Sound of Silence. That is Old School. Will Ferrell as Frank. He's drunk at a kid's party. Number 4, 2014, the teens throw a sheet over the stalking demon and shoot it before electrocuting it in the school pool. That was It Follows. Really cool movie. One of the last Blu-rays I bought. It Follows. Number 5, 1997, Reed Rothschild's front flip ends a long one-take pool scene in the late 70s, early 80s with adult industry performers. That was called Boogie Nights. Great movie, great scene. Number 6, 96, two teenage star-crossed lovers fall arm in arm into a fancy pool. Romeo and Juliet. Ashley Starling, Buds' favorite movie. Number 7, 1975, Frank Enfurter starts off singing in a raft alone, but 4 more uniquely dressed folks jump in after him. Rocky Horror Picture Show. Number 8, 1984, Stripe jumps into a pool and it starts bellowing with green smoke. Gremlins. Don't get him wet, don't feed him after midnight. Number 9, 1967, Benjamin demonstrates his newly gifted diving suit for his parents' friends. The Graduate. A lot of my favorite movies on here. The Graduate. And number 10, 2008, Oscar is saved by his vampire friend bullies who plunge him underwater against his will. Let the Right One In. Cuts off all their heads. It's great. And for 2 points, author Kurt Vonnegut appears as himself in what diving comedy of 1986? That's Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield. I have it in my basement on VHS. Back to School. And there you have it. A fun episode on pool flops, inspired by one of my last ever Entertainment Weekly magazines. Hope you had a good time playing along. If you have a unique idea for a round, send it to me. You can send me the questions or just the ideas for rounds, and I can come up with the questions. That's always the hardest part for me, is coming up with the new topics. So if you come up with the topic but not the questions, or both, send them to me, ryanbuds@gmail.com. Your fact of the day for today is the Philippines consists of 7,641 islands. That's a lot of islands. That's a lot of them. Thanks for listening. Thanks for telling a friend. And we'll see you next time for more trivia with Buds. Cheers!